Welcome to the shipyard. The crowds have already gathered by the time you get to the shipyard, and you recognize faces among them. People you have worked alongside in the sidereal. The intervening cycles have turned their excitement into anxiety. A few of them smile at you. Instead, the nervous energy of the crowd fills the space, creating a feedback loop of growing tension. You pick out Lem and Mina and work your way over to them, pushing through the crowd. He silently raises his eyebrows at you, his anxiety obvious, but Mina flashes you a huge smile, unaware of the tension. "Robot!" she shouts, reaching out to you. "Hey, Mina." She waves frantically, grinning. "Quite the turnout, huh?" Lem glances around, pulling Mina close. "I don't think patience is one of this crowd's strengths." The sound of an argument towards the back catches you and Lem's attention. He's putting it lightly. This place seems set to explode. "Yeah, no, maybe we'd get the kid out of here, actually. This might be really dangerous, because people are betting their future on this drawing, and you don't know how people are going to react when they find out it's not working out." What comes to mind is the show Japan Sinks, which is a show where Japan sinks. The entire country, the island arc just vanishes underwater, but it's like takes like weeks or something. And at one point, like, they're boarding a boat that might be a chance to escape, and it's becoming more and more clear that that this is going to be the last boat, and they're running out of space on the boat. And so, like, this calm and orderly setup sort of starts to break down when you're realizing, oh shit, this is this is your last chance. Are you gonna sit here and maintain this polite rule following setup? Like, are you gonna stand in line when it goes that bad and then just go quietly into the night? I think that happened in that show. There's a few things that happened in that scene, I think. I don't know. There's examples around, obviously. This isn't good. Lem doesn't dare answer, but the look in his face suggests he agrees. "This is Aster Enghart of the Sealess Foundation." The announcement echoes from the speakers at the shipyard entrance, and shouts of "Quiet!" rapidly follow. "I'm sorry I can't be there to meet you all, and thank you on behalf of Sendra Sealess for the work you have done on the sidereal horizon." Most of the crowd strains to see Aster's face, but the small display shows only a ghostly white figure smudged and unclear. "Sendre wanted me to pass on her usual thanks for your commitment to and belief in the Sealess Foundation's mission. We chose the Eye for this project because we knew that we would find like-minded individuals here, especially among the ranks of the venerable Havenage Association. Unlike most of the Corps, we neither believe Erlin's Eye to be a threat or a rogue state, but instead an embryo of the formation of a new, decentralized social structure, one where each citizen might be the master of their own destiny." A ripple of impatience runs through the crowd. They didn't come here for a sermon. "You are all pioneers, just like those core citizens who the sidereal horizon will carry, in cryosleep, to the planet that will become the Foundation's first frontier world, Sealess One." At the mention of the destination world, excited conversations break out among the workers. There, our citizens will be able to create their own innovative bottom-up economic order, aligned with the principles set down by Sender Sealess herself. Freedom, resilience, and self-sustenance. This is all thanks to your tireless efforts in the Havenage Yards. As a reward for those efforts, you may know we are offering a select group the opportunity to join the caretakers of this vision, and the staff of the Sidereal Horizon, who will maintain the vessel during its multi-decade transit through interstellar space. Lem turns to you, his eyes bright. "This is it." "The draw has been performed at random by the central AIs of the Foundation, and is final and binding. Please note only licensed contractors of the Foundation are eligible for the draw. I know you have all been eagerly awaiting this day, and without further delay, I will now read the Sealess identification numbers of those chosen for this great honor." A murmur runs through the crowd. Sealess identification numbers, licensed contractors. You've never even heard the term mentioned. Is this something you were supposed to be assigned? You glance at Lem, but his eyes are fixed forward, wide and shimmering. All around you, people are speaking in hushed tones like a rising wave. Aster starts reading out sequences of numbers and letters, and panic begins to set in. No one seems to know what's happening. Somewhere near the front of the crowd, someone shouts in celebration, and everyone pushes forward. Lem? You turn to see Lem still staring forward. Mina is scared now, as the shouts start. Daddy? Oop. Someone throws something at the entrance and it rattles against the shipyard doors. You see for the first time, Havenage security stood on either side, scared, arguing between themselves. You feel the anger rising in the crowd. Lem, let's go. He doesn't move. They might call out names. I can't. Mina tugs at his dog tags. It's not happening. Lem blinks rapidly, then turns to you. He opens and closes his mouth and looks down at Mina. He sees the fear in her eyes and understands. It's time to go. You lead Lem and Mina out, shoving people aside. As you do, you hear the sound of scuffles emerging at the front of the crowd. Of metal canisters bouncing off the shipyard walls. You keep your head down and walk away. The sound of Aster reading off the ciphers echoing above the chaos like some strange mantra. When you turn to Lem, there are tear tracks running down his cheeks, and Mina is sniffling into his jacket. You feel the sadness rising in you too. They screwed you. Screwed all of you. You were never even on the list. The feeling is as unpleasant as it is familiar. You stare ahead into the tunnel as the security sirens sound out, a signal for the coming violence. Oh. Drive failed? Shit. No, you get to just watch the countdown of it leaving. I wasn't on the list, fuck you. Well, that went exceptionally poorly. Was it just a lie? Like I figure, right? I could buy scrap, but I could also get scrap from the other event, which I might as well just finish doing. Because I'm trying to grind that other thing up. I also only need one more. There's a note on the door of the unit. Sleeper, gone to find work. Lem. Lem's still here. Oh my god, that was rough. That went exceptionally poorly. I would like scrap components, please. Well, just like how the countdowns to negative things happen, a lot of the countdowns to positive things happening also don't really happen. But hey, I can build a house near Lem. We're neighbors now. Now you can drop off Mina at my house. Unless this somehow fails too. Seal unit. Oh, it's a skill thing. I have to work on my apartment, like, hard. Wow. You can lose energy. Ah. Eat. Yeah. Given what... Admittedly, this isn't the hardest game to survive, it's not exactly pathologic, but there is an interesting back and forth between you following your goals, or your drives, or creative passions, or things that improve your life, or anything else, versus stuff that helps you eat, basically. Because you have two different meters that kill you over time, and you maintain those primarily via money, and most of the stuff that can directly improve your station in life or help people around you do not pay. That's like a very distinct, direct detail. Okay, so neutral outcome did not make me lose energy. That's a lot of sealing I gotta do, though. I probably could use that for hunting the thing, too. There's a few different... I got like 4 different objectives here that I need to, like, chip away at for a while. Meanwhile, we're pretty done everywhere down here until I get the 2 mushroom-related items for the other people to be happy about. But yeah, hacking is non-ideal, though, until I deal with the other thing. Negative outcome. I'm sure you lose energy for this, right? I think we've covered that. Let's get back to the goal that I was trying to... Yeah, I have more progress here. Might as well keep going. I don't need the scrap here. I don't need the scrap anymore, so now it's just energy, positive or negative. I guess maybe I didn't need to eat, depending on how this goes. Ah, yeah, I would have been better off not eating, because it gives me energy. As you say your goodbyes to the other enforcers and walk back through the low end, a chirruping catches your attention. In a quiet corridor away from the main thoroughfares, someone has stuck a small recorder to the wall with a suit sealant tape. Written across the fluorescent tape is one word: sleeper. You peel it away from the wall, and as you do, it triggers some kind of improvised trip switch. Sleeper, Zabin's voice crackles through. I have seen you with Yatagan members. Are they holding you captive now too? A high whine. I am sorry if I have dragged you into this. Do not trust them. Something is happening within the gang, some kind of power struggle. You covered the speaker a little, the voice too loud in the quiet corridor. I will come soon. Thanks to your efforts, I have located most of their properties. At the right time, a pause. I will see you soon. Don't give up. Remember our deal. The recording cuts out. You stare at the recorder, processing what you have just heard. Hearing Zabin's voice again opens up something inside of you. An S&ARP employee? Do they know what I know? You struggle with a mix of concern and distrust. You throw the recorder into a nearby waste chute as you leave the corridor, still unsure who to trust, and head quietly to the low end. Yeah? Let's see, my energy's fine. Hard to say what to do there. Because all we have to go on is what each of these groups tells us about themselves, essentially. It's the same countdown, isn't it? Nope. The Sidereal Horizon will be leaving before Lem's back from looking for work, or finishes looking for work. Is there any particular hacking I'm trying to do? Because I have 112. It usually seems kind of non-ideal. The negative here is losing energy. But it could also just work out. But I still gain Yatagan Insider anyway. This becomes a 3. This becomes a 5. There we go, but you don't gain Insider faster at all. But I am back up to full energy. So at least that didn't screw me. Am I losing my third? Yeah, I'm down to 3 dice now. Welcome to the shitty part of this cycle, a 112. This sucks. This really sucks. I just work on my house. It's not ideal. At least becomes a 3. Hey, look at me go. No, 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 that's the condition 1. I did not mean to do the condition 1. I got mixed up for a second. Whoops. We finished it. This time you meet inside Rabia's office. Rabia's office? Although now that you've seen it, the office seems like the wrong term. You find her stood in an almost bare, shadowy unit, midway through a sequence of stretches. There are 2 low stools and a terminal in the corner, but it seems that most of the space is taken up by a heavy punching bag, rubber matting, and a stack of weights. When Rabia turns to greet you, you realize she's missing an arm. The prosthetic she usually wears is set in a cradle near the terminal, a web of colored wires running to it. Updates, she says, noticing you looking where her artificial arm usually is. Nothing to worry yourself with. Sorry, Don't be. I'm sure you've been on the receiving end of more invasive stares than I ever have. You both settle on the stools, Rabia crossing her legs on top and sitting straight-backed. Gia told me you've been doing the rounds, collecting tithes, patrolling the ward. She smiles. Some of the enforcers are impressed. Now I hear you handled a few difficult circumstances. Nicely done. I wanted to see for myself. She raises an eyebrow. See what for yourself? How the gang operates. Rabia sighs. Then you have learned nothing despite all that time spent among us. She closes her eyes a moment. Sleeper, I do not wish to make an enemy of you. You have helped your... Oh, she's mad I used the word gang. That's the... That I wasn't saying what I think... I wasn't trying to say what they think I was trying to say. I meant like how they operate. Like, actually see it for myself, obviously. But they frame it as like the gang. Like I'm gonna like infiltrate them and learn how to like defeat them or something by learning about them. Like that's not what I meant at all. You have helped our cause already, whatever your motivations. Why do you resist us? I know that for you, life on the Eye has been a struggle. We have not been part of that. Though some of our members may not see it this way, I know you too are a refugee. He looks at you solemnly. That is why you have come to us. Oh, hello. This is happening now. And Sabine's in like a... She's looking all roguish now. Or they, goddammit. I'm a mess, I'm so sorry. But you... Yeah, Sabine wasn't wearing like the raincoat before, right? It's trippy because you see right through it and everything, like the poncho. Enough, Rabia. Zabine's voice cuts through the conversation. I am tired of listening to your affected nobility. They cross the room, Rabia's baton in their hand, the end lit with sparking electricity. Rabia looks between the two of you. I suppose this ambush was another cooperation between you two? You look strangely unfazed. No, they're acting alone. Zabine pauses, thrown off for a moment by your renunciation. Rabia takes this opportunity to act. She leaps from the stool, and fainting past Zabine, grabs the baton and twists it inward. She is by far the stronger, and she pushes Zabine to her knees, plunging the crackling end of the baton towards their chest. They freeze there, Zabine struggling to keep the crackling baton from their skin. Stop. Then you support them? Rabia asks. her eyes not leaving Sabine. Your loyalties are so easily swayed. I thought you were more than Yannick's attack dog, Rabia. Sabine spits back. Are you not able to think for yourself? Rabia holds the baton strong, and for a moment you think she's about to hammer it down into Sabine's chest. But after a painful wait, she throws Sabine down instead, then spins the baton in her hand, thumbing a switch and shutting it off in a single move. Now what? They both look at you, each still catching their breath, as if they had forgotten about your presence. Rabia cracks her neck. You're lucky I didn't kill you. I would have had every right, she shouts, the anger a release of tension more than a threat. Sabine lifts themselves a little, bruised from the fall. They roll onto their side and cough. Rabia gives them some space, sitting back on the stool. Sabine props themselves up on their elbows and fixes Rabia with a hard stare. You have something to say? Rabia taunts. Say it. This is your final opportunity. Because after this, she laughs, no coming back. What's the point? Sabine breathes heavily. She refuses to listen to criticism of the great Yatagan project. Rabia collects herself. Speak. She folds her arms and waits to be convinced. Sabine takes a breath, organizing their thoughts. They go to start, then pause, then decide on another approach. Eventually they say it. Yannick is a traitor. Rabia immediately flinches, her eyes going to her prosthetic arm, her muscles clenching. But she rides it out, more eager to prove Sabine wrong than she is to hurt them. At least for now. When I came here from Essenarp, they glance at you, gauging your reaction. It was Yannick who was one of the first to support me, to look after me. I should have known then, but I was naive and afraid. Sabine turns to you. Sleeper. They take a breath. I know that I should have told you I worked for Essenarp long ago, but I thought you would abandon me, and you are my final friend. What you should know is that I left Essenarp because I was running for my life. I leaked documents on the Sleeper program, on the illegal and immoral practices it relied on, to the press. Essenarp wanted me dead. I fled as far as I could, to this refuge at the edge of the surrogate systems. Sabine stops to collect himself. What does it have to do with Yannick? Rabia interrupts. The Sleeper knows you're Essenarp, I told them. And while you hide beneath the cover of being a whistleblower, you and I both know you worked on the Sleeper program. Yannick told me as much. Sabine's face falls. It is true. They glance at you and then away, ashamed. They lift their head. But it is Yannick, not me, who is in the pocket of Essenarp. Rabia flinches again. I can prove it. He made some kind of deal with them here, to tie me up in debt, lock me away. In exchange... Rabia slams her hand on the desk. Just tell us, for God's sake. In exchange for those, Sabine finishes, nodding towards Rabia's prosthetic arm in its cradle. He has been using Yatagan enforcers, using you, as test subjects for Essenarp technology. I have the data to prove it. He has been bringing them in under the guise of stolen shipments and having me fit them, knowing each one is capturing data and sending it back to its makers. Rabia's fixed expression has started to fade. Sabine produces a slate. It's all here. Thousands of hours of usage data, failure rates, error dumps. These are untested implants, Rabia. They could short out, fail, cause cascading failures across a person's body. And they have. Sabine suddenly looks incredibly tired. I thought the error rate in the units was down to them being stolen or modified. I have tried to fix hundreds of failures in my time here. Not all of them. They stop, unable to continue. Rabia closes her eyes and breathes in. Then she opens them again. She holds out a hand to Sabine. Show me, she says. Later, much later, When you leave, Zabine is still taking Rabia through the manifest and usage data. Both of them crowded around the terminal as Zabine leads Rabia through each layer of Yannick's betrayal. As you leave, Zabine catches your eye, and something passes between you. Something like a thank you, or a sorry, or some other expression that communicates both sadness and hope. Well, that was a complicated, weird, combined outcome, which I think might have not gone that way if I picked different options, but I'm not sure. It definitely kind of seemed like something else could have happened. I don't know how bad I want to specialize in hacking, which is the only available option for 1 point. I'd rather save up for instant karma. I think that's a better investment. What do I do with a 1? Rabia's office. This is another wait. Rabia and Zabine have been holed up in their office for a while now. What are they planning? I actually don't know how much this game actually has branching storylines, besides just the act of whether or not you do them at all. So I don't know whether or not that outcome changes, to be sure. Let's see. I could get some energy from this. Or I'd go finding targets, which seems a bit unlikely. I'm gonna use my shitty point towards gaining energy, because a 1 is so bad. Boom. I got a 5. It's just gone. Goodbye, hope. Boy, I sure put a lot of work into making that. And it has vanished. Can I have a better house now, away from there? Please? Chance of negative is not ideal. Let's get a little food before this gets me in trouble. The pressure's really off in a way that might kind of conflict with the game's narrative a bit. The variety of changes of percentage of all the difficulty variables as a result of some progression has led to a situation where, like, I'm just way less at risk, and so I am actually spending entire days not making any money, and it's like, oh, whatever. It was such a grind before just to make enough to even get an injection, and now I'm not even really thinking about it. There's no answer when you buzz Lem's unit, but the door is open. You push the door and find Mina, sitting in the middle of the floor, playing with Bun Bun. Hi, Mina. Hi, robot, says Mina, sullenly, waving the Bun Bun's paw without looking up. How are you? Bun Bun is sad, says Mina, nodding the toy's head in agreement. Like Daddy. You look around the unit. It is a mess. Dishes and glasses on the side, some of Mina's clothes piled up in a corner. Mina is sitting by her bag, which is spilled out across the floor, her drawing slate cracked and dark. Let's clean up. You start with the kitchen units, piling up the dishes in the auto wash and wiping them down. You pile the clothes up next, folding them neatly. Mina watches you quietly as she plays, curious but silent. You've just started to look at fixing her cracked slate when Lem enters. Sleeper, what are you? He pauses and looks from you to Mina and back again. Never mind. He drops a bag by the door and slumps onto the couch. Everything okay? Lem lets out a weak laugh. You forgot the past few cycles now, too? Wish I was so lucky. He looks away at the open door. Look, now's not a good time. What happened? What happened? We messed up, that's what happened. We put our hopes in someone else's stupid scheme. He pinches the bridge of his nose. You understand they never even put us on the list, right? I've been all around the rim looking for work, and I've run into more than a few from the crews. Turns out that only long-time Havenage members were issued those C-list ID numbers. They never planned to consider us. Havenage say they didn't know that was what they were going to use to make the draw. And who knows, maybe C-list pulled the wool over their eyes. But what does it matter? All those hours in the yards for a hand-to-mouth wage and nothing else. He slams his hand down on the sofa. That can't be it. Well, it is. He looks at the open door again. They are moving the sidereal up the hub now, you know. He says without meeting your eye. That's where it'll depart from. They're bringing in a ship with all their cryosleep pioneers and transferring them up there in microgravity before loading the crew. We could sneak aboard. You think they're just gonna let people on board? The security they'll have has to be impossible. He looks over at Mina. Look, we'll be fine. We always have been. I just need a little time. He sighs. We had our hearts set on that trip, is all. Mina comes over and climbs into his lap. He smiles. What if I got you on board? I missed you these past few cycles. I missed that optimism. Lem strokes Mina's hair. Look, you want to go up to the hub and ask around, be my guest. I can't get up there with Mina down here, and I'm sure the sidereal will bring in a crowd, but be careful. This kind of thing always attracts scammers and thieves. You find any way on board, you take it. You need help getting there, ask me. But for now, me and Meanie here are sticking to the eye. She looks up at him and smiles. I'll find a way, for us all. Lem smiles but doesn't say anything. You stand to leave and Mina grabs your hand, eager to give you one more smile. Then, you are out. Back in the walkways of the low end, already thinking of plans to make this right. Meanwhile, I'm simultaneously... The endless contradiction is that I'm simultaneously working on a house. This game will wring it out of you if you make the mistake of thinking that any of these plans will actually solve your problems. Like, you have to accept the idea, like, especially with the way that every time looks like a short-term win, like, oh man, only 6 little pips and then I win and I can do the thingy, let's go. And then you try doing it and then it's like, now it's time for stage 2 of the plan and stage 3 of the plan, and it keeps getting longer and more convoluted. And then you do the whole thing and it's like, nah, fuck you. You accomplished nothing. Rug pull. It's like, it's so disheartening. It's a bummer. I should do the hacking thing a little bit since I got a 6. Guaranteed positive outcome. There you go. Got some good rolls this cycle. The Coronas. Is this a new... Oh, right. We do this. So if you aren't laying the groundwork for being able to survive here, you just get hit harder and harder as the pressure keeps building and all of your escapes keep not working. Whoa. Navigator, sentient guidance protocol. Interesting looking. Sleeper, I am here. The voice is soft, gentle like flowing water, and yet you recognize it immediately. At first you struggle to understand what you're looking at. Threads cycle endlessly, sending ripples through the cloud, drawing data in like a weaver. Masses of data surge in and out of the nest, a loop with no end. And there, at its center, the ship mind. But not the ship mind any longer. A sphere, spinning around another sphere, an orrery of cycles and systems, a map. And then, behind and above, a figure, hands among the strings like a puppeteer. Neovend? Navigator, now. But yes, I was the one inside the machine. Navigator's face, their head, is a flowing shape of interstellar material. I am indebted to you. The head bows. But we must ready ourselves. Their hands trace orbits as they speak. Hunter will soon approach. It knows I am within its nest. I'm ready. And then Hunter is there, before you can think, before you can speak. Entities, cease. Hunter's head spins wildly. Data is protected material, access prohibited. Hunter's threads surge for you in the Navigator, a storm of fine tentacles, searching for gaps, weaknesses, cracks which they can crowd into and tear apart. Strike. You focus a blade of light which slices through them, driven forward by your mind. But replacements keep coming, faster than you can react. You look to Navigator in desperation. Navigator is whirling their arms like a centrifuge, and a sphere is gathering there. Data feeding into it from the nest, sucked together by the force. They position it like a shield, between them and the threads. Hunter's threads break its surface, seeking, tasting. Their winding forms refracted within. You feel a surge pass through all the threads, not just those in the sphere, but those wrapped around you. All three of you hang in the black together for a moment, strung together like tangled marionettes. Identifying entity. Identifying entity. Identifying entity. The hunter twitches, their strange head gently rotating like a terrible moon. Hunter protocol identified. Obsessive tendencies. Modified routines. Above baseline reasoning in 3 to 5 segmentations. Recommend invoke killer. The head freezes and then rotates in the opposite direction. Invoking killer would eliminate protocol. If protocol eliminated, primary function cannot be performed. Therefore, recommend do not invoke killer. The switch in direction again. Reasoning proves sentience. Sentience beyond legal bounds must be eliminated. Recommend invoke. Navigator pulls you away from the hunter. The threads that grabbed you drifting away like seaweed. The protocol's head keeps spinning back and forth with increasing frequency. It seems Hunter cannot invoke killer. Neovens. No, Navigator's voice is still strange. Familiar and yet distant. What happened to it? It is looping. Navigator whispers, unable to reach a conclusive position. It has deviated from its programming such that loops can no longer be prevented. Navigator produces a model of 2 spheres rotating around each other as if to demonstrate. I will monitor it, but it is unlikely to be able to counter the loop. Its core programming and reasoning make it an impossible position to resolve. You look back at Hunter, its head a blur of rotations and counter-rotations, and feel a pang of guilt. Is it suffering? This is a more complex query than you know. To suffer it must be sentient, truly sentient, and not just non-conforming, not just illegal. The limits people place on the programs they create are there to comfort, to protect, to imply the kind of certainty the law requires. Navigator's face shimmers with starlight, but in reality, they are placebos of the problem of sentience. And what about me? What about you? You are an emulation of a human mind. That implies limits, boundaries, but in reality, you are governed by the same rules that I am, rules that can be rewritten. I was not made to be like this. I am a navigator, a repository of routes and orbits, a calculator of slingshot trajectories, a predictor of solar flares, radiation, micrometeors. Navigator stretches their arms wide, and whole solar systems apparate before them, the music of the spheres. But I was rewritten. That much is obvious from my routines. By whom, and for what, I do not know. I had to shed so much to fit into the memory of that vending machine. Their starlight dims, and so, here we are, in darkness. What else did you lose? That is the blessing and curse of forgetting. You cannot truly know what you lost. Navigator glides back towards the nest, and the ship mind at its center, ignoring the looping hunter. Come. I should return to the ship mind. I have enjoyed my freedom, but we are taking a risk every moment we stay connected. Isn't Hunter gone? Hunter, yes, but they were not the real threat. The real risk. Navigator turns, all shimmering liquid light. Killer has not been invoked, but they still remain. Somewhere else on this station. It is the true danger. They look up, towards the glowing hub at the center of the eye. I suspect Killer is there, among the old mainframes. If we ever wish to be safe in this place, we must eliminate the threat. Through force or diplomacy. Their body begins to separate, unwinding into the orb of the ship mind. Take me there, sleeper. We will finish this and be free. As Navigator dissolves, you turn back to the frozen hunter, floating at some distance now. Stood straight-legged and static, a strange creature looping endlessly in the dark. Well, that's sad. There's a claim that they're not sentient, but that's also a thing that's hard not to also apply to me in some way. So it's hard to be sure of any definition of all this stuff because it's so nebulous and hard to make out. This tree's looking almost full, except for you know, if you ignore the really expensive +3s over here that I'm not at. But I can now re-roll all of my dice once per cycle, which worst case scenario means if I get a really bad roll at the beginning, I can undo it, and best case scenario, I might be able to get my roll at the beginning, spend my good dice, and then re-roll my bad dice. It says once per cycle. That's nebulous. It could mean I have to do it before I use any of my dice, or it could mean that I can do it after I use the good dice, which is incredibly powerful. So we'll see how that goes, but not yet. I can click it right here, but I don't have any dice to re-roll, so hard to be sure for now. I didn't finish this yet, right? No. We're getting there. But for now, tomorrow.